Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode 8 of my podcast, PTSD Me, Myself, and Him. Doing it slightly different today. I'm introducing some video recording for the first time to the podcast, just so I can produce some micro content in and around my social media feeds, just as a little thing to enhance it and then advertise it a little bit more. So this is a first for me, so I'm just trying to see how it goes with that. Hopefully I'll forget all about the camera in a minute or two and then get just relaxed into talking to my microphone like I normally do, and just, telling my story, of what I do. Today I titled the episode Finding Someone to Talk to. And as weird as it might seem, married for 18 years, very outgoing extrovert person with lots of really good close friends, I didn't really have people to talk to, not about the kind of things that I've spent the last 7-8 weeks talking to here onto my microphone about. I just never really shared the inner me. Now, I went through lots of therapy. I met lots of community psychiatric nurses, a couple of psychiatrists along the way, lots of mental health professionals, and I had lots of discussions with them. The reality of the situation was I was never entirely honest with any of them, because I just wasn't honest with myself. If you're not honest with yourself, how can you be honest to anybody else? And for me, it was all driven by fear, basically. Fear drove me. The fear of many, many, many things had control over me. It guided my instincts. It guided my reactions to how everything worked. It was all part of the ongoing issues. So, what was I scared of? Ridicule. Was, as I mentioned in last week's episode, I had this persona of almost this superhero. So the thing that used to quite literally terrify me and bring me out in sweats was the fear of being ridiculed. That, I would become a butt of jokes. I would be a laughing stock. And it happened on occasions. There's more than one occasion when my peers and my colleagues laughed at me at my expense because of, my less than stellar judgment choices. I was scared of anger. I was scared of the anger that was inside me. I was scared that when people got angry at me for my behaviour, that I would lose control and overreact, and again let this mask of this perfect person slip. God forbid I should lose my temper and start a fist fight with somebody. It was all those sort of things. The other things I remember that came with the fear was just disgust. I spent most of my time absolutely disgusted with myself as a human being, while still putting on this game face constantly, day in day out, that my life was good, and I put a great game face on. So many people didn't realise that how many problems I was having. Yeah, I hid it from myself, I hid it from my wife, I hid it from my family. It just was just what it was. What changed last year was for the first time, I mean really for the first time, I sought help for me. It was my choice to find help. It was my choice to go and seek some assistance. It wasn't something that had come about because I was sick. I needed to go get help like it had been in the patterns before. It was absolutely a case of I'd done it for myself. And I think that what was the epiphany moment for me was the fact that I'd gone through a pretty bad time a few years ago. Completely unhappy at work, hated my work. unfulfilled, seen all my opportunities and chances were slipping me by. I'd watched my marriage gone down the pan. I'd lost access to my children on a regular basis. All these things. And then I found somebody else and fallen in love. And everything was great. Yet my demons came back and they bit me hard last year, really hard. And what I couldn't understand was how I could be so happy, so in love, and all of these problems that in the past had plagued me and I'd always blamed on something or a combination of things were still there and if anything, worse than they'd ever been. Like, how could this be happening to me? And that was the reality, the penny drops, drop the mic moment, poof, when it dawned on me that no, I really, really am the problem. It was me, it was the problem. I was doing this to myself because of my own bad thought patterns, my own bad behaviours, my own bad choices and decisions. That was the thing that just sort of illuminated it all for me, that I was the problem. I was causing all of this pain and heartache for those around me because of my behaviours and my attitudes. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This sort of came to me over weeks and months of being at home all day, every day with my partner, Patricia, and, talking constantly for hours and hours and hours about how I was feeling, about what was going on. And as we spoke, the barriers just lessened. And if I could give one piece of advice to anybody today, is that if they can find the strength to begin to talk to those closest and stop worrying about the fear, letting the fear control you about what the consequences might be, you might then discover that the consequences are nowhere near as bad as you thought they might be. Now, unfortunately for some of us, the consequences will be exactly what we imagine them to be. But you know what? It's better to have tried and failed than to never tried at all in some respects. Cliched, I know. I seem to throw so many cliches out here in this podcast series at the moment, but it just seems to be the way the brain works. I've been through group therapy. I've been through one-to-one with the CPN, lots of cognitive behavioural therapy. For me, I have to be brutally honest, CBT was never, ever any good for me. The way my brain thinks just rebelled against the whole concept of CBT. To me, it just seemed like, think yourself happy. I know it's far more complicated than that. There's far more to it, but that's the bit my brain latched onto, and it was like, don't be silly. That's not going to work. Even though it actually does work for many, many people, it just didn't for me. I think one of the biggest problems I had was my attitude to medication as well. Like many people, I seen pills as weak. Taking the pills was weak. You have to be able to fix this yourself. You can't fix it by popping a pill. You need to be, doing something. There has to be some sort of practical, physical activity that goes along with getting better. You don't get better by thinking yourself better. I think the reality of the situation is that every time I got medication, the part of me just felt like it was a crutch and that, I shouldn't be taking it. There was something wrong with it. Taking the medication made me think that there was something wrong with me. And one of the things that changed was, I have an underactive thyroid. It fell apart shortly after I left the army, and I had to go on to taking these levothyroxine tablets every day. That took me quite a long time to just get used to the fact that if I wanted to feel okay and happy, I had to take this medicine because the bit in my body that needed it wasn't producing it. So therefore my whole wasn't right. And it was a couple of years, I'd been taking these for a good few years when it suddenly dawned on me that if I had the same attitude towards the antidepressants as I did towards the levothyroxine, there's a bit of a chemical in my brain missing. This gives me the chemical I need, and therefore that allows me an even chance of, leading a normal life. I was like, oh, maybe they're not so bad after all. And it took a long time for my head to get around that concept that I just needed to take the tablets on a regular basis, not missing them and skipping them, just accept that they're there to do me good and to help, and that with them I can be better than I am without them. The end result now is, this is, where are we, end of October. I'm coming up on, and next month will be 1 year of taking a very large dose of antidepressants on a daily basis. I'm a bit reluctant to talk about the actual medication and all the rest of it. I see on these support groups everybody talks about what other medicine they're taking and what doses, and everybody wonders about their side effects and stuff. Put it this way, my doctor started me off in a low dose and didn't make much effort, so bearing in mind what was going on with me, we moved me up to the maximum possible dose, where I have been now for 11 months on the maximum possible dose of the medication I'm on. And in many respects, I think my recovery is entirely due to the fact that this is the longest period I've ever taken them and not felt guilty about it. I've taken them effectively, consistently, in a high enough dose, along with the other interventions, the talking and the counselling, and the better life situation I'm in, that has allowed everything to get to the happy place where I am. I know my face doesn't necessarily look that happy, but I'm Scottish. You're stuck with what you've got. So again, it's one of those things. I've got to a much better place in life by A, being honest with myself, B, doing therapy, C, taking a medication, taking control. I mentioned last week, this podcast, I come off this podcast on a mega high every week. I absolutely look forward to doing it. And today it's really good because I have to do a few podcasts today to catch myself up, because I'm going away on a much deserved holiday next month. So I have to make sure that I've still got my content out there for the people that want to listen to it or to view it here. Although you'll only be viewing clips of it, there's no way I'm ever going to put 12.5 minutes of me ranting and raving up onto the phone or into my microphone onto any of the social media platforms. I'll cut 30 seconds or 40 seconds out here and there of the good bits. Yeah, 13 minutes of video for 30 seconds of content is probably about right for me. But it was the realization, it was all stigma. It was all of my negative thoughts and patterns and reinforcements were all down to the fact that I was worried about what other people thought. And I was worried about what that horrible person in there thought as well. And the people that mattered to me most in life, their opinion almost didn't count, because I just ignored it, because I was so busy listening to the demons. So I set a challenge last week, and I got some feedback on it, which was really good to get. So thank you to the person who reached out last week with the challenge. So I'm going to try again this week. So that's my challenge to anybody that's listening to the podcast this week, is between now and the next time we speak, is to think about how much of your actions are a reaction to what you think other people will think of you in that situation. Don't say anything, don't talk to anybody, don't do anything. Just, to use a bit of mindfulness phrasing, just be aware of it. Be present in the moment and understand that is what's driving your reaction to that situation. And then you start paying attention to how often that happens. And then maybe we can give you a challenge later on to maybe start to change a few things. Anyway, I think that's enough for today's episode. Thank you as always for everyone for listening. I'll be back to talk to each and every one of you again in my next episode next Wednesday. Thanks very much, everybody. Goodbye.